something don't like doing, and I feel like I'm backtracking. Basically, going backwards to go forwards again, because, well, as I mentioned before, ball joints are all dry rotted and I used an inferior brand. Gonna fix that. But also got my drop spindles. About time to get those put on. I have all the Moog to replace everything in the suspension, because I figured might as well, because if I redo it now, I probably never have to do it again. One side out. Alright, so I get the control arms off on that side, and now I'm going to work on removing the control arms on this side. There goes the spindle. Going to take the ball joints off and get everything off so I can move everything again. Now that they're all off, time to change the bushings, then clean them, paint them, and reinstall them. Alright, I got one done. New sleeve, new bushing, everything. So, it's painted, and 3 more to go. So, got it started. Got to line up the guide holes on the lower arm. Get it all put together. Then I can put my 2.5-inch drop spindle. Now I also went ahead and got a 1-inch drop spring that I'm going to run and see how it sits, because I kind of forget now where it was sitting at, unfortunately. Oops. So I'm not sure how far I needed to drop it. I don't remember. And I still got the stock spring, so originally 2.5 was I thought was perfect, but may not be. So I'm going to run the 2.5-inch drop spindle, the 1-inch spring, and once it settles, or if it's just too low to begin with, I can always go back to the stock spring and see what happens. So get this put back together. And since my air impact decided to take a crap on me, I decided it's time to upgrade, and this works pretty good. So, time to get started. And the great thing about doing some of the suspension work now, it's kind of easy to get some bolts without everything in the way. I got that side put together, you can see in the shadow. Brake line will have to change. Got the front suspension off mostly so that I can redo the tie rods to get them pretty close to where they were. Got both of them off, just either knock them both off at the same time, rebuild both of them, put them in place, all that good stuff. Then I'll do the Island arm and Pitman arm last. One thing I want to check is they say there's interference problems with the wheels when you use a drop spindle because of where the tie rod is. So far, I see no interference with this rim. The other side is more likely what I'll run. I think that rim has a different offset, but obviously I'm not going to tighten these all the way down because it's just temporary. So I'm going to turn the wheel, see how it turns. rubbing. It's rubbing on the jack, but that's not a big deal right now because I could care less about that. It's not touching the tie rod at all, or the tie rod end. Good clearance. But the brake hose has got to go. Well, it's not touching the ground yet. That's because I got the other jack there in the center doing all this work. So far so good. I'm kind of liking it. Everything's bolted up here, except for the few things that mount to the spindle and the shock. And I'm just going to put my spring in. Get this side all put back together. Now I have them slightly in the air, and this one, the only one any issues, and it's actually hitting the wheel weight right there where the tie rod is. So I'm going to have to get a different back spacing. Not a big deal. That one clears. That one doesn't have an issue. This one has a backspace issue. But I'm going to plan on changing it up anyway, so won't be that big of a deal. Ain't running yet anyway, so I ordered my wheels. I got to remember that. Alright, let's see how it sits. So let's be honest, it dropped it lower than I thought it would, but at the same time not too low. It's kind of hard to tell from here, but let's walk over here. And the thing is, this is about the tire I want to run on the front still. Just look, here's with this profile tire. It's a lot closer, and I'm sure a lot more people will probably like this better because it looks a little bit, there's less clear, there's less gap, fender gap there with this tire set up on this side, which is not bad. But my problem is, the wider I go on the back for a 15, the harder it is to find the same matching height profile. So that's where I'm getting into. This actually wouldn't look bad to me if I could get a wide set on the back that was just as tall. I like to run a 295, but I can only get them in a 50. And well, for street tire, the radial, I'll figure something out for that. I've been wanting to do that for years because the back had always sit lower than the front. Well, now it's sitting where I want it to sit finally after all these years. Now, I need to think about rims eventually and tires. What I need to do, what I want to do is have these 15 by 10s with radials for when I go racing, and then have something like a 15 by 8 for just street driving. Because on this, my issue was always that whenever I got a 295, it was a 50, and it was kind of a low profile, and that it just never, I didn't much care for it. I liked how wide they were, but if I go up to a 16, I could probably find it easier. Don't know if I want to go 16. If I go a 16, there's a lot more clearance around the control arm and the tie rod ends on the rims. So the offset ain't going to matter as much, or the back spacing won't matter as much that way. I like a 15, always have. If the Kragers look the same in the 16 as they do in the 15, I haven't looked at them in a while, and I don't see a lot of them. I might go with the 16 so I can get a taller profile on the back with a wider tire, and just run 16s, figure out what I want to do there. So I'm going to look in that. I haven't, not a big 16 or, not really a big, I like 15-inch rims. This truck I might be able to get away with 16s and it'll look good. I gotta adjust my steering wheel, it looks like a little bit, not a lot. I adjusted the tie rods a little bit to get them as close as I can get them by eye until this thing gets a front end alignment. And then by then I may be able to have a little bit of adjustment in the steering wheel and get it almost dead straight. So that front end's like new. This thing's gonna drive good. It looks better. So look forward to getting this thing back on the road one day. Sure. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, thanks for watching.